welcome to episode 9 of TemTalk, a podcast dedicated to the creature collection MMO Temtem. Today, we're going to be talking about our experience playing in the ranked queue for our main topic. But first, I'm joined, as always, by Presby Kennedy. Kennedy, how are you doing today?
I'm dabbing on them. I'm
Nice.
3-2.
You're dabbing on them in your ranked
games.
matches? 3-2?
Yeah.
Hey, that's more than 50%. You're a winner. You're a winner. You need to finish your placement matches so we can see how your TMR stacks against mine, because you had a lot of smack talk to talk about my TMR, which we'll get to when we get to the main topic. But I'd like to see where you end up and see if you can eat your own words there.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
Let's jump right into the news this week. So right on the top, we'll just mention the weekly reset in PsyPark. In PsyPark, there was Big U, Lumas, and Bampies ×2 for both of those. Did you? As I think I've made pretty clear in past episodes, I'm pretty much out on Luma hunting for the time being. I'll revisit at some point in my life, but I didn't touch PsyPark this week. Did you do any PsyPark?
They can only seduce me to Luma hunt with 3x rates.
Yeah.
2x rates. I know my luck. I know the time it takes to Luma hunt, and I'm not going in for 2x, but 3x they'll get me.
That's a really good point. I don't like Luma hunting, period, but if I'm gonna do it, I better really like that Temtem, and it better be a 3x event.
Yeah, if they give me 3x on a 3x event on a Temtem that has, like a 5% appearance, I'm there all
give
week.
Me like if they give me like 3x like Clara's, like I'd be down for that, or Nidrasils. So I get a mix or a Nidrasil Temtem at 3x. I'd probably give it another shot. I probably wouldn't get it, and I'd probably be ranting here in the next episode about it. But
feels bad.jpg.
The Free Temp Society this week, they're on their tiered system now. So in the first, it ranged from 50 to 600 releases. 600 seems like a lot to me. Does 600 seem like a lot to you for free releases?
600 seems like an incredible amount of releases, but I think with like the additional ways to earn Pansun in game,
right,
what I've seen people do before is they'll just buy hundreds of Temtem from people for incredibly cheap, for like 300 Pansun or 150, like more than they get for releasing them. Yeah,
that's a very interesting economy thing, is that if you really want to catch Temtem, you can make even more money in the Temtem Society by selling to other people, for other people that want the releases. So that's interesting. Across the spectrum of rewards, the lowest tier for 50 was some Tem cards plus, and then the next level you could get some Weakener Tangerines, which adjust your TVs. Then there's a Telemorph Pack Special Attack, which I think is the best thing in here. And yes, only at the 600 releases, it's just for cosmetic items, so it might be a high number, but it's only for a cosmetic. So I think any practical player who's just trying to get content out could stop at the second to lowest tier, which I can't remember, but I think was only like 300 releases. So I
love the multiple tiers of free Tem because I don't feel pressured to grind out a bajillion Tems all week. It's just like I free Tem when I'm bored, and then I go and turn in. It's like whatever I get, I get.
It makes that content way more digestible and approachable. With that said, I didn't touch free Tems this week either, but I don't feel bad about it. I'll wait to the main topic, but I've been a little burnt out on Temtem of just doing free releases and Luma hunting, and this week has been a breath of fresh life, much needed for me. Where I'm very reinvigorated and excited for the game. Why don't you want to talk about patch 0.5.19 and the changes that brought to us?
Yeah. So this past week we had a miniature patch pushed out to the server, patch 0.5.19. It had one balance change in it, and then it had a bunch of bug fixes that just made the game more pleasant for everyone. And I won't go through all of the bugs, but they're just things you're passively going to notice in the background. But the balance change, I think, was really interesting to note, because for the technique Madness buff, they changed Madness buffs, the type of technique that it is, from a special attack to a status move, which now means we've had 2 patches of them tweaking and adjusting Madness buff around Nidrasil, where they changed Nidrasil's Tri-Apothecary specifically, so now it works when Nidrasil attacks itself with a special move, which its only way of doing so was Madness buff before, was its only way of dealing damage to itself to apply Tri-Apothecary. And then they specifically went through and bug fix to make sure that Try Apothecary worked with Madness Buff. Like there was a fix in one of the previous patches that addressed that. And then after, they implemented those two changes, we get this balance patch where I didn't read any Crema notes on it, but it's just like, hey, Madness Buff is now a status condition, which means specifically it doesn't work with Nidrasil's Try Apothecary anymore.
It's the change. Oh, go ahead.
The other thing that changing it to a status condition causes, before you could bamboozle a Valash or any Temtem that was going for a Madness Buff. And by bamboozling it, because Madness Buff was classified as a special attack, the bamboozle would consume, or the Madness Buff would hit into the bamboozle, and the Temtem you use Madness Buff on wouldn't get the benefits of Madness Buff because they would avoid using Madness Buff because of bamboozle. So now you can't counterplay somebody's Madness Buff by bamboozling their Tem because it's a status move.
More importantly, you can bamboozle your sweeper that's also Madness buffing.
Yes, exactly.
Which is really cool. And I think that's the reasoning behind the change. I think it's so your own positive buff doesn't interact with it or it doesn't get blocked by it. But it's like poor. I think like Xenarath is a big winner on this because I personally was running a
Xenarath and Valash. I saw Valashes going ham this weekend at the Temporium tournament.
Yeah, I played a lot against a lot of Valashes in my queue. But poor Nidrasil, I think an unintended casualty. I don't think they were thinking, oh, Nidrasil's so OP with its trait, Madness buffing itself and then healing for 2 turns. So it's unfortunate. I'd like to see Nidrasil get some more move sets in the future that actually activate Try Apothecary and the regeneration on itself. Right now, I did play against multiple Nidrasils in my games. And they used what is it, allergic spread?
Allergic spread.
Yeah, so they put the debuff, the poison debuff on status condition on my team multiple times. So the Nidrasil is still getting use out of its Try Apothecary. And I did see Nidrasil using Madness buff, and I was like, oh, I'm sad for you. You should be healing right now, but you're not.
If only.
The next part of this news is you talked about these clubs wars hosted by Divine Dojo. So there's so clubs aren't in the game yet to set this up for people. I'll let you talk about it, but there's a lot of informal clubs that people have arranged outside of the game in Discord. I personally have informally and casually joined Enigma, and I'm in their Discord, and I hope to join their club when they go live. Have you officially laid down your flag with any of these clubs or any club yet, or are you still a free agent?
You would think that I'm a free agent. Friend of the show, Huron Crane, actually invited both of us to Enigma. Okay, I joined the Enigma Discord and joined the Enigma Club, and I have the official role as Enigma. I haven't auditioned. Is that what they call it? Tryouts.
For their actual Club Dojo team?
Yeah, you have to, for Enigma at least, you have to try out and place in a small internal tournament they have in order to be, one of the dojo defenders.
Yeah, I'm not one of that. I'm a lurker in the Discord who posts noob questions into channels and gets experts to tell me what to TV train and how to change my team. Which is it's great to have that source of information and that internal community for discussions and do it. So I highly recommend anyone who hasn't joined a club's dojo. If you're doing ranked matches, go find a club, go find a dojo to join, Enigma or someone else, just so you can have that community. And when the dojos and clubs come, which I think will be soon, by the way, I think within 4 weeks, we'll probably see the rest of the patch that we were supposed to get. I think that way you can have one in-game to join that's already organized and set up in one of the more bigger and active ones. But with that said, enough about that. You want to so what did they do? What is this Club Wars hosted? I saw this in my peripheral in the Discord without knowing too much about it.
Club Wars is big. It's big. It's not one of the most ambitious Tim tournaments, but I think as far as prize pools goes, it's one of the biggest right now. It's a set of 6 weeks of tournaments, and I believe the overall prize is 1 million Pansun, and every club participating has donated at least 100,000 Pansun towards the prize pool. And so it's 6 weeks of competition, and different different clubs are matched against different clubs each week as kind of almost like a football style league of this club versus this club, this week on this day. And then each club will pick so many defenders to fight in the club war. And then what happens is it's a 1-round elimination, King of the Hill style, where one player from one club plays against another and fights until they either knock out that player or not. And once the person defending has lost like all their Tims and it's knocked out, they're out for that week. And the first team to lose all of their defenders loses, and the other team wins like that match. So for the first week of Club Wars, it was hosted by Divine Dojo, and the clubs that participated were Divine's Dojo versus Ronin. Divine Dojo won with 5 wins to 1 win. So they knocked out 5 players, whereas they only had 1 player knocked out. Enigma. Then the other match that happened last week was Enigma versus Exotic French. Enigma is the club that both Andrew and I and Hero Crane are in, and they went against Exotic French. Exotic French is the club that I believe Neko Blackie is in charge of, and she's a very popular name in the community as I think she was like the winner of the first tournament Krima hosted for Tim. She's really good at this game. That was actually the match I tuned in for, and Enigma won it with 5 knockouts to 4. It was a very close match.
So on these 5-4, 5-1, is this 5 players battled? There's 9 rounds, and this is 5 different players from each club won, and then from Enigma, and 4 players won their sets of matches from Exotic French. Is that what the spread is saying?
Oh, so yeah, and it was just going back and forth until the last player standing won. So how many, essentially, if you think of a chessboard, how many pieces did you capture?
And it was series of one-offs of player versus player.
Yes, so unfortunately I didn't tune into the exact entire.
You're breaking under pressure for my drilling of questions. So that's fine.
I just had it on in the background, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I've been reading the messages about participating. I was like, I should really help my club out.
No, I read the messages and I said, I'm not good enough for that. And then I stopped paying attention.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Anyways, listen,
In the future, I will pay more attention to this, and I'll try and give more accurate information.
Well, I was just going to say, in short, just know that there's, outside of the Temporium tournaments going on, there's these clubs or clans or guild organized events and community. And so if you're someone that was previously like me, feeling a little burnt out or dragged thin on the content, go look for these communities and join one, and watch the content and get some fun out of it while you wait for more content to be put in the actual game. Moving along, our next news item was a very, very large post on Reddit by the community manager, Itsu Tuski. I don't know. Someday I'll learn how to pronounce that.
I would say Itsuki.
Itsuki, the community manager, posted a very long thread on bans and bans appeals, some insight. And we mentioned this last week. We talked about the bans and the bans appeals and the controversy and drama. And it's obviously gotten enough attention that they felt the need to address this. And this post is massively long. It's one of the longest Reddit posts I've ever read. I'm going to quickly just try to go through it and highlight what's going on. By just maybe looking at the first sentence of each paragraph. And, they talk about, we felt like some explanations were in order regarding the current situation. The ever so mentioned system, the unbelievable success and attention Temtem has been receiving brought with a surprising amount of malicious intent. We try to stay on top of things, and our anti-cheat system evolves daily, and I mean daily. Banning players does not benefit us at all, regardless of what some think. On the contrary, losing our base and having to deal with the defamation campaigns against us, putting a lot of strain on us on a team and individually. They said currently banned accounts represent 0.6% of the total account, so less than 1%, the total amount of accounts who've each played Temtem. And that doesn't mean 0.6% of players they point out, that's 0.6 of accounts, where some of these accounts, they've banned 50 accounts at once. So if we're talking about percentages of players, it's probably like 0.3%. So before I go on, right away, what this is telling me is exactly what I thought of. I love Reddit. Reddit's a great place, but it's such a vocal minority that over exaggerates things that you feel like everyone's getting banned and there's these swaths of players getting banned. But here they're coming with the data saying no, less than 0.5% of players are getting banned. So this isn't actually affecting 99.5% of the players of Temtem. So and they go on to say, if the number is actually so small, why does it feel like there are so many banned players? Why is there a growing belief that we are banning users left and right? Usually, the next step for a cheating player and being banned, having their appeal rejected, is to cause fear among the legit player base and to discredit Crema. They've lost, so now we must too. So they're talking about that these very few bad apples that have been banned are just probably spending a lot of further drama by trying to blow this up, and I think they want to nip it in the butt. They talked about the Twitch player that got banned as a false positive, and how that one was appealed and resolved, but that obviously showed that their ban system's not perfect. That's why they have an appeal system. And they go on to say, does that mean everyone who claims their ban to be false is telling the truth just because this one Twitch streamer? And they said not at all. And it goes on and on. I guess I'm going to stop there before I keep going through it. And then they followed up with some comment clarification points saying that, a human does look at every case, especially if it's an appeal and there's more than one human that checks each case, because there's a lot of concern that the system was just fully automated and just banning people based on patterns. And they talk about how their system's actually based on flags being flagged. And it detects flags for certain things that might look suspicious. And you have to mount a bunch of those flags or do something very obvious. So if you're someone who's in Sci Park and you're insane, unlike me and Kennedy, and hunting these Lumas and just going back and forth on the exact same path, and you're clicking all your keys perfectly to run away from encounters, and you're doing that times 1,000, they might flag you and say, well, that's a little suspicious looking, but they're not going to automatically ban you for that unless there's another thing that happens like that, another thing and another thing. And so it's very automated to help them keep up with it, but they do have a lot of humans behind it. They highlight how they have a small support team and it's taken them a lot of time, and they get hundreds of emails and tickets over the weekend. But before I say more about it, what's your take on all this, Kennedy, this whole situation?
It's very weird because in some senses I want to dab because like it's taken a lot of restraint, not to say like, oh, I was right. But then also
no, go ahead, gloat. This is your moment.
Yeah, and then also it's like kind of one of those situations where you don't want to be right about, and then a lot of areas too. I was off in my basis. So like one thing that the post revealed to me is that there is no dedicated team that Crema has for this area of the game. They do have a support staff that she mentioned, and that now their time is being dominated by going through all of these bans and these appeals and reviewing each and every one of them.
It's unfortunate because if you have a normal support request or ticket, you're going to get drowned out by them just trying to deal with bans and bans appeals. But they do have people that work on this every day.
Which I'm wondering what that process overall looks like at Crema, because they are an indie development company, and I just remember how amazing they were when Temtem launched, and producing content, addressing bugs, being communicative with the community. And then that weekend hit where they went through and they banned, all the people who did the Hocus exploit, all the people who did the rock climbing exploit, anybody holding, exploited Tims that you weren't supposed to be able to get in the game. And thousands of players got banned that weekend. And they said, we're not appealing any of these. We know why we banned these people. They violated our terms of service. And the community was outraged and was like, there needs to be a ban appeal process. And they were like, you know what? You're right. There does need to be a ban appeal process. And then we had 2 weeks of basically nothing from Crema, of like no new patches or implementations or fixes or anything. And, they posted on their Twitter, like, we've, at the end of that period of like, we reviewed every single ban we did, and we found that all of them were legitimate bans, but the appeal process is going to stick around. And I'm wondering like how much that's weighed down on the development cycle without that dedicated team to do ban reviews.
If I have to speculate, there's no way it doesn't have an impact, but I don't think the programmers, the developers that are working on the next islands, I don't think they're the same people that look at a ban appeal or a ticket.
And
I'm sure, but it's definitely taking resources and stress and time and energy from like their leadership level, and I'm sure maybe they've pivoted some people, so it's got to have some kind of impact. But I hope it's not too severe on the actual game content being made.
We actually had a note in one of our past episodes that we skipped over when the spring patch came out in this area, talking about, you know, the vocal minority. There were a couple people that were very, very upset at some of the changes that came in the first half of the spring patch.
Yeah. And the Telemore half changes?
Yeah, the Telemore hack changes and the trading changes in general. And they were like flaming Itsuki on the official TemTalk Discord, and it was the first time I've ever seen the community manager lose their cool. And you know, she flat out said to him, "It's just like, you're not going to be polite to me. I don't see why I need to be choice with my words to you." And just replied very bluntly to a couple of the points they brought up. And you know, I think that's like one of the things when you have a passion project and a love project like TemTalk is, that once you create it as an MMO and it's opened up to this much larger audience, that I think there are a bunch of like unintended consequences and unintended
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, unfortunately. When the game came out that first month, it was all sunshines and rainbow and positive hype and good feelings, and I think the game's still very positive overall and has a following and has a lot of that, but they've had to deal with the reality of running an MMO since then, and it definitely sounds like it's putting some strain on them, and they're learning fast, and I hope they adapt fast and grow their team fast. And
I wish there was something nice we could do for like the Krima devs, of just like a surprise birthday party or something.
Right? But, I don't know. My heart twisted when they said like how this was taking a toll on them personally, just having to deal with this. I was like,
yeah, same. Because like, I don't know. To me, like, I love this game, and I think it's and I know it's in early access, but for an early access game, I think it's really polished. I think it's got a lot of potential. And to me, you know, I really see it as a love project, as like some of the things and changes and how much they try their best to listen to the community. And for the people that can appreciate that, I don't think any form of art is immune to critique, but I think any form of critique should be conscious that there's people on the other side.
Right. People get so immature on the internet sometimes. Like those people that were upset about those changes, I get it. That is upsetting. But to then go personally attack someone who's just another human being doing their job at their desk, you know, is just so unfortunate and unnecessary.
Diving deeper, though, into the bans and appeals specifically, there is a human element to these bans and appeals, and I try and invest myself. I try and get into as many areas of the TemTalk community as I can, so that I can try and get a full scope of the community around the game. And that causes me to just talk and discuss with a lot of people, and I'm going to leave like their names out of here. And I did talk to somebody who, and gosh, I hope this doesn't get me banned. I did talk to somebody who did get banned through like this flag system, and they acknowledged their ban was legitimate, and for, you know, reasons I won't get into. They acknowledged their ban was legitimate, but for the heck of it and how much they really enjoyed games, like they did exploit once at the start of TemTalk, and they acknowledge it was a dumb decision, and they haven't been, you know, exploiting since. But that flag was still on their account. They did get banned, but for the heck of it, they went through the ban appeal process of just applying for a ban appeal. Krima reviewed their case and apparently the way the flags came up on their account, it appeared that their exploit was done. It looked like it was an accidental exploit, and however the flags appeared. and whoever reviewed the ban ruled that this ban wasn't a valid one and on-banned the person's account, whereas they were completely not expecting to get on ban.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've taken it as like a blessing from Crema, and they're just kind of like sitting there silently of like, oh my God, I can play again.
Well,
but that is to say, you know, there is a human element reviewing each of these bans.
Yeah.
There's a system that goes through and like applies all of these flags, and then going back, there's a human element that goes and looks through all of these. So the process on either end is definitely not perfect yet, and we'll just have to see how it evolves.
I think that story's okay, because if they really only did one exploit once and got banned for it, and if the system, you know, you said accidental, but who knows, maybe they even saw it was a low enough count that they just unbanned it. I think that there's okay for a forgiveness or a grace period, that if players do it just a little bit and they really regret it and are remorseful and aren't doing it, you know, they can come back to the game hopefully and not continue that type of behavior, but know that if they do that, they're going to get caught. You know, I'm okay with that. It's the people that are the bots that are running constantly, you know, keep them away, leave them banned, don't bring them back.
There's a certain amount of like legitimacy, I guess, you can apply to it. Whereas this person I'm referring to intentionally like did use an exploit, like they didn't read the terms of service, they didn't know what they were doing was wrong, but you know, it was a mechanic that, you know, went around the systems in place in the game. And so in that sense, you know, the ban was 100% legitimate. But, you know, the fact that they didn't know it was wrong and they haven't been exploiting, I guess is something you could tag in their favor. But right. In general, I would say that.
Well, I guess that's not an error of the system. It was really, if that's truly the case, and whoever knows in these situations. But if they did an exploit that they didn't 100% know was an exploit, then it's fine to say, okay, yeah, you did that, you shouldn't have done that. But you know, I don't know. I'm happy there's flexibility and they get to come back to the game.
Yeah, and what I was saying was with intention, there's, you know, a proper way to go about this. Like, I'll give myself as an example. I told you that week I was hunting Luma Mudrids. I kept running into invisible bun buns, which was just the weirdest thing to me. Of like, I would catch bun buns, or I'd run into bun buns, there'd be nothing there but their shadow. I'd catch them, there'd be nothing there, but they wouldn't have the Luma tag or any advanced stats or any perfect stats, so I'd know they're not Lumas, and then I just release them. After, you know, my third one, what I did was I went straight to the forums and I reported, hey, this is a bug, I'm catching, you know, invisible bun buns. And I feel like an exploitation of that bug would be like farming invisible bun buns, not, you know, making any bug report. And then, you know, like going to Discord and it's like, who wants a invisible bun bun?
10, or trying to use them in like a ranked match and get an advantage because people can't see it and might get confused or forget what the time is. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like there's an intention of it, of like, if you keep quiet, then I feel like you kind of deserve a ban. If you let the devs know, then I feel like
I don't think you deserve a ban if you catch an invisible Temtem and don't say anything. But if you catch it and then are trading them accessibly to other players or something, then agreed. Well, listen, this I think we've talked about this a lot, and for something that only affects 0.5% of the player base, we probably over talked about it. But it's such a it's unfortunate that we get sucked into paying so much attention, energy on this, just like Crema and just like the community, when it really honestly affects so few players. So trying to wrap this up, there's just two more quick things I want to say in closing. I like your idea of yourself. You said, like, what could we do for Crema? That made me think of League of Legends' very early ban system. They actually had like a tribunal that players could volunteer for, and players could review cases. I remember
the tribunal. I love that. Go ahead and explain it. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No. So I don't remember a lot of the specifics, but I remember that it was basically their way to say, hey, we get a ton of reports and possible ban effects, and it's way much for our staff. So we're going to crowdsource the review of these to the community and let you guys in groups by consensus and by juries review these and come to decisions. And they implemented their system of case review to the player base, and players got recognition in some form for doing these cases. And I think there was still always an appeal system even from this. But I'd love to see Crema do something like that, where they can shift this to the community and maybe not reward Pansons, but some maybe an in-game title or a cosmetic of like a gavel or something for being a judge if you review enough cases. Give some kind of incentive to have players help out, but let players kind of process this and by jury as well and design some kind of system like that. I think that'd be pretty neat to see.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And then the other thing is, I think it's so funny that for weeks on Reddit, every single day I got so annoyed because I'd see a post of someone posting a GIF of a bot being like, "Oh, I found another bot. Crema still does nothing. Oh, there's so many bots." And then the second they like start banning people and taking care of bots and addressing what people complained about for weeks and weeks on Reddit, now people are complaining about that they addressed it. I'm like, make up your mind, be happy. Like, this is the part of it I don't like, is that there's no pleasing the internet mentality and the pitchforks. It's just, I saw so many complaints about bots, and then it's like, okay, we're dealing with the bots. Okay, now you're complaining that players are getting banned and a few bad apples are trying to claim that the system's not working. So I don't know. It's amusing to me. But should we move on to more fun topics and positive things now? We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about today.
We do have fun stuff.
So on a positive note, let's switch gears completely. April 21st was the 3rd month anniversary of TemTalk being in early access. And they shared some stats. Yeah. And so this is the 9th episode of us, so 9 weeks. That means that I started the episode about 3 to 4 weeks after the early access launch. So pretty close to the beginning. They released some stats on Twitter, and they said in this time, over 97 million Temtem have been tamed, and 1.7 million have been evolved. 2.3 million eggs have been hatched. 20,000 Lumas have been found specifically in PsyPark. And they've done 18 patches addressing over 300 bugs. So some pretty nice numbers. I like that they're throwing out these numbers. I like that they're sharing these numbers. I like that they're getting this information out to players' hands. I like that there's some attention and focus on positive, exciting things like this. So anything you take away from these numbers is particularly interesting. I think the 97 million Temtem being captured is a mind-boggling number.
97 million Temtem captured. Basically 20,000 Lumas exist, currently inside from PsyPark.
That's fine. That's not very many Lumas compared to the total number of Temtem being captured.
If you say at least people pick up half that in the rest of the game, because PsyPark always has like a double Luma rate.
So you think another 10,000 maybe?
Yeah, that's like 30,000 Lumas in game, man. That's crazy.
That is a lot, actually. It's a small number compared to the others, but that's a lot.
I mean, it is a lot, but there's 97 Temtem that have been, 97 million Temtem that have been captured. Yeah. And let's just say at least 5-6 of that 97 million has been for free Tim.
Yeah.
And that's still I don't know what, 15 million or something.
Yeah. It's interesting if you break it. So 97 million in 3 months, about 90 days roughly. That means on average over 1 million Temtem are being caught a day, or have been caught a day. I mean, obviously that's an average. So I imagine way more of those were caught in the first month. But to think about 1 million Temtem every day being caught for the early access period, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to touch on this meme that got posted?
Oh,
the community manager got to do something fun this week. It wasn't all talking about bands.
Highlight from the community. I was just looking at Reddit and saw a funny meme, and it turns out the game director shared it, and it's a picture. It's like it's like the Terminator meme. It's a picture of a robot with a shotgun inside of an office, and a little cute anime girl hiding under a desk crying, and the text is over the robot. It says player squad with max level SVs and TVs, and then it says Kisawin NPC tamers.
I don't know
the title of the post is max level players when the next island drops, because so many people barely just drag their Temtem's corpses through the end of Tumco with
I struggled through all the content,
how much it scaled. And now that we've had just a little bit of time to breathe, going through the next leg of the game, we won't be behind the curve. We'll be, at the top of the bell curve. So that's a little bit exciting.
I like this post, and I did the same thing. As I looked at this post and I laughed and said, "That's funny." I like that, and I thought it was a player created thing. And then later, when you post, I'm like, "Oh, this came from the community, man. I didn't even realize that." So I did the same thing. But it's funny because I've thought about this topic multiple times about how challenging the first two islands have been, and now we all have these perfect SV, STV, level 48 temps. So I'm like, we're just gonna blow through the rest of the game now, or at least the next island.
Well, the other thing too is they always have the ability to raise the level cap, and then the formula that they use to calculate experience, I've noticed in game, is not static. So when you
based on your level versus their level, how much you gain.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you're a higher level than another Tim, you get exponentially lower amounts of experience when you defeat it in combat, as opposed to being under-leveled. So I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. It might be a issue for getting to Kisawa, and then after you're there, I think it's going to scale itself out. Because all they have to do is make all of the encounters, under level 48 heading there, and your Tims are going to practically get 0 experience.
Yeah.
Then once you get there, just like the Crystal Shrine, where they're level 55 Tims there, if there's that spike in difficulty where other tamers have, level 50 and 50 plus Tims, then, no matter how far ahead you are, once you get there, you're going to be on par with the rest of the game.
I mean, by level, you're right. I think having the perfect SVs and TVs and having time to be able to select these full teams, I still think the next dojo is going to be significantly easier for a lot of us than the first two. But you can, if you want to play it naturally, there's nothing wrong with, I personally set aside all the time that I was playing the story with in my box and started working on breeding Tems. I really could play. I could go to Kisawa and pick up those Tems exactly where I left them at the end of Tunkum. I didn't level them anymore. I didn't max their level. I didn't TV train them. They're not SV bred. I could play through the storyline if I want that level of content, and any other player could do the same. So it's not like you have to make it easier for yourself by using these highly trained Tems. And some of the people replied to this Reddit thread saying exactly that they've specifically have Tems that they didn't perfect that they want to use for the story, so it's still enjoyable. So I
wish I had been that smart and put my Tems aside. All of the Tems I played through the story with are now level 48.
Team of 6. I mean, you still can recreate it. Just go capture 6 Tems and level them to level. I don't know.
There's really only one Tim I used through the story. It was Neslo, a chain lightning and electric synthesize. So I'll just go catch another.
Exactly. Go get another Nesla and then buy a starter from someone and level up them both to level 40-ish and just random TVs, and then just catch 4 new Tems from Kisawa to use in Kisawa, and there you go. You can do it.
Bada bing, bada boom.
You can play the content naturally. This week, what have we been up to? I have nothing to say here because everything I'm going to talk about on the main topic is our ranked ladder. But you have a bullet point to cover, so go ahead into that.
Yeah, so what have I been doing this week? The bullet point on our notes is TV training for dumb reasons. I caught a Luma Mushi forever ago, and I was very excited with it because Mushuk is one of my favorite Tims. And I was like, yes, I'm going to have a Luma Mushi, and it has the good ability, and it's got stats where it needs it, so I can Telemore hack it later in the future to, use it as a perfect Tim and use it competitively. And when the ranked scaling came out, I was just like, oh, cool, I'll just TV train my Luma Mushi and a few other things, and I'll be set, and I can use it in the ranked ladder because the ranked ladder will auto-scale its stats. And I wasn't even paying attention to, I wasn't paying attention to the Mushi's level, but I'm pretty sure I caught this Mushi at level 32, which the current level cap in the game is 48, which means there's not enough levels possible for me to level up this Mushi and it to become a Mushuk. And I spent 2.5 hours one night TV training this thing. And I finally finished the TV training going into the weekend. And Andrew and I set aside time where we were going to sit down and play ranked matches. It's like, cool, I'll level this up to 40. And I spent about an hour leveling it up to 48. And I spent about an hour and I got it to 45. And I was like, how many levels does it take for Mushi to level up? And I searched it on the wiki and I was like, cool, I wasted like 4 hours.
You didn't waste hours. It's just not immediately useful to you.
Yeah.
Because Kisoa will drop. You'll still have it TV trained. You'll be able to evolve it then, and then you'll have your Luma Mushuk that's TV trained. But in the short term, you can't use it.
No. Yeah, and then and the whole time while I was doing this, I was just free timming in the background. I think I am touching like 70 or 100
Boy, those are some rookie numbers. They're on the low end.
Well, yeah, I'm I could get my C-Note farm on, or I could get my Mastion farm on with my trained Whiplumps and my trained Nidrasil and Soccer, but I did that for so long that it's just like, nah.
No, the joke there is that my free times are at 0. Because I feel the same way. I like there's that weekly thing you can do to make money and do it in principle, but in practice I haven't chased that content, which is why the ranked queue has been so much fun, especially the ranked queue rewarding money.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? You reminded me of something else. Oh, just you talking about using a Luma Tem for your in ranked matches. I was streaming to you on Discord just so you could watch my matches we were playing together, and we saw together someone that had 4 Lumas on their ranked ladder team. Ridiculous.
Yeah, four Lumas, and it's worth mentioning that one of those was a Luma Pigapack. Yeah. Which a Luma Pigapack's worth easily 2 mil. So
Luma Pigapack, Luma Nidrasil, like it was all like good Lumas that like people actually like and battle with or desire for either free Tem or for PvP. So yeah, I was a little jealous. I can't remember if I won that match or not or lost it. I hope.
It slipped my mind too.
I was gonna say I know that there was a point.
You won. We'll just say you won.
I know there was a point in the match where I was on the up and I was like, "Hi, your Lumas won't win for you now. It's not enough to have Lumas. I can still beat you, but I can't actually remember if I ended up winning. I might have lost to him anyways." So our Tem of the week is going to be Calibus, and this is one that I picked because Calibus is on my ranked team, and I love Calibus so much as a Tem, and Calibus was the one Temtem that I picked for my ranked team purely out of a love for the Temtem. I've talked about before how I really like Krakens and Octopus and any type of a fantasy genre or lore. And so when I saw that there was like this giant octopus Temtem that could float around with all of its tentacles out, I was like, yep, gotta have that. Gonna put it on my Temtem team. And with that, it was really fun having, I don't want to go too much into this because I'm talking about the ranked matches, but you see a lot of the same Tems in the ranked matches, and that's okay right now, and I don't mind that with how the game is. And Calibus is definitely, and I'm guilty of using all of those Tems that you see everyone else using, with Calibus being my one exception, where I only saw like 1 or 2 other players with the Calibus, I think one other one. And I think because of that, because other players, it's not one of the main meta Tems, I got the most success using Calibus because no one was used to him, no one was expecting it, no one knew how to deal with it or had counters ready. And he did a lot of work for me in my ranked matches. So I wanted to talk about him as the Tem of the week for that reason. With that said, can I throw it to you just to run people through his page like you normally do?
Yeah, definitely. So Calibus is the 128th Tem in the Tempedia. It is a toxic and water type Tem. It's got an amazing typing. Calibus's appearance and personality. Calibus is a large squid-like Temtem with large tentacles. It is light-colored, nearly white with dark speckles and greenish-black all over its body, like certain types of squids. It has a wing cap structure on the top of its head. This cap has a large horn in the front with the smaller horns around the cap, similar to its pre-evolution Kalamazoo. And the personality entry for it is, how did Solarian Octopoda come into contact with the mutagenic material is a matter of debate. But Calibus stands as an example of extreme adaptation to the harshest environments. They have been known to survive a swim in the Zalat Reservoir, which is the toxic area on the island of Tumka. Calibus's abilities, or its traits, are botanophobia and loneliness. Calibus is an amazing trait, or an amazing tank. But unlike some of the other Tems that tank really well, like Volarin, where the joke a lot of people throw around is Volarin has 2 good traits, Calibus has 2 bad traits. And that's just to kind of like balance out some of like the amazing things Calibus brings to a team. Calibus has great HP, pretty horrific stamina and speed, great attack, great defense, okay special attack, and its special defense leaves a little bit to be wanting.
Mediocre.
But yeah, with some TV investment, it can be like really solid in that area. Because of its typing, Calibus only takes 2 times damage from electric and wind types, and there aren't really a lot of electric types that can contend with Calibus currently. And if it has the Botanophobia trait, it'll also take 2x damage from nature moves.
And there's not really a lot of nature attackers either, and there's only really Gazuma for electric. So your only real risk is wind temps, and even then you have so much HP and defense that they're not that scary. The only thing that really can scare, I think, him is a special attack with like crystal, a sweeper special attack. If you haven't trained special defenses, it's one of the lower stats. But even then, it's still a Tem that's not going to get one shot by like a crystal bites or a crystal spikes.
Yeah, sometimes
he's so incredibly
2 crystal
bulky.
Spikes might not even kill Calibus with like proper HP and defensive investments.
So I don't know. Was there any other basic information you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I want to run through the moves that Calibus gains access to. Calibus has a lot of great techniques that it learns. Some that I want to point out, though, probably its 2 most iconic things. Calibus gains access to a move called Strangle. It's one of the few Tems in the game that can do so. Calibus has horrific speed, and that is in its favor because Strangle as a move will always go last. And it's so low priority that it doesn't take speed into account. And because Calibus is so tanky, it's one of like the few Tems that can like reasonably strangle, and you can expect Calibus to live to get the strangle off. The other thing that Calibus gains access to is Toxic Ink, which is a toxic move. Calibus is a toxic Tem, so it's able to hit surprisingly hard with its toxic inks and get those poison ticks off. And Calibus as a tank can normally do really, really well against other tanks and stall out other tanks and just give you time to live and maneuver on the field around them.
Yeah, his moveset is I really love him so much. And I finally, now that I have some experience playing, can talk about these things a little bit more in the ranked. I've really been so happy with his performance because we've talked about how bulky and tanky he is, but he's not just someone to take hits. He can still do a lot of useful things on the field for you. The fact that his attack is decent means that you can put 1 toxic move and 1 water move on him and have some type coverage that you're filling in for your team. Like my team, for instance, I have no other water Tems. So if someone brings a fire Tem or an earth Tem or something that I want to counter with water, Calibus is a real threat on the field, even though he's not one of my sweepers. Same thing with his toxic move. Having that toxic typing to be able to what is it? Toxic Ink is? Toxic Ink is amazing. And that's just for some type coverages and to give him a little bit of punch, but it's by far more useful, like you mentioned, the Strangle and Flood. Being able to say, hey, I'm going to have this tanky Tem on the field that you probably can't deal with unless you have a very specific Tem, and I'm just going to strangle one of your Tems and just hold them from doing anything. So the amount of times I was able to bring him in and strangle someone's sweeper that I couldn't protect from their attacks, and then bring in my sweepers to kill them while Calibus just held them there with all of his tentacles was really fun and exciting to be able to do that. and I wasn't good enough to use his other utility move, but on paper it's so good, and when I learn to use it well, I'm sure I'll be happy with it. And that's Flood is one of the moves that people aren't, and that lowers the speed of both of the enemy's Tems, and speed manipulation is obviously so huge. And if you can use it in a synergy in conjunction with an earth type, it lowers their speed by 2 stages. So it's a great counter to like a Turbo choreography where it can literally counteract that based on 1 or 2 stages based on if they're synergizing. So I have a Volcrane on my team who's an Earth Tem. I was never smart enough or on top of my game to use Flood in conjunction with Volt Crane. I always wanted to throw out attacks and just do damage. And that's something I need to work on. But the fact that he can manipulate speed, he can tie down Temtem, he can throw out some punches and take punches, and the fact that I just love him as an octopus so much really makes him one of my favorite Temtem, and the reason I want to talk about him as the Tem of the week. In closing, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, but I'll just say that from the trivia, Calibus's name comes from the combination of calamari and abyss. So I think that's pretty cool.
I didn't know that about calamari. That's cool, but it makes sense now that you say it out loud.
They said that it was originally spelled with a C to be more like calamari and abyss from a Reddit user suggested it, or a Discord user suggested it, but they changed it to a K to be in line with Kalamazoo and make more sense, which I like it as Calibus with a K. I think it looks more aesthetically nice as a name that way.
Yeah.
But anything else on Calibus? Otherwise, you want to talk about the weekly challenge?
I have to say. Well, I will add. I don't. I'm pretty sure you can catch Calibus in game. Like it's got a 5% spawn chance in the Zealot Reservoir or something. So if you want a Calibus, you can go breed for one, or you can just go catch one, add it to your team, TV train it, and use it on the rank ladder with some rank or with some SV scaling.
And speaking about the traits, normally people, the competitive trait that people like to go for is the Botanophobia, which increases the nature damage. It's not great taking nature damage, but right now, like I said, there's so few nature typing. I don't think anyone ever used a nature move on my Calibus, so I was very happy to go with that trait because at the time I was very wishy-washy on which one to go with. Loneliness isn't good because it makes it so synergies don't activate. And like I was just talking about that Flood being able to do 2 levels of a speed reduction if you have a synergy. Not being able to do that would really make him a lot less useful. Plus I don't know how it would if it works both directions, but I don't think you can use Calibus to activate other synergies either. Yeah, so synergies won't work on both allies, so you won't be able to use them to activate a water or toxic temp. So I think
it's worth noting too for Botanophobia, that Calibus's main threats that he'd be looking down as far as like powerful nature attackers would be Nidrasil, who has next to no special attack. It does its special attack damage from applying poison ticks, which Calibus is immune to. Cernif, which Cernif's great special nature attack is Water Cutting Lily, which I believe that deals physical damage. And Calibus has great physical defenses. And Babawa, which also has Water Cutting Lily, which again, I believe is physical damage.
Yeah.
So the things that threaten Calibus when it runs Botanophobia are rare and few in between.
Yeah. He does, like I said, I was very happy with his performance. He did a lot of work for me this weekend. So something we want to start on the show here is kind of throw out a weekly challenge to our listeners. And collect some feedback from you. This is one of Kennedy's ideas. So Kennedy, I'll let you guys explain what we're doing for the first weekly challenge.
Okay, so first, everybody, I want you to imagine that there's a bunch of really cool music here, like weekly challenge.
Yeah, I'm not that good at production to edit in something like that, but maybe in the future.
Yeah.
You'll have to make
Use
your own.
Imagination.
Let me put you on the spot. All right, I'm going to introduce I'm going to say it's time for the weekly challenge, and you're going to make your own intro music sounds for it right now. You ready, everyone?
Yeah, go
All
for
right,
it.
so we're going to move on to our weekly challenge.
Weekly challenge.
Woo, I'm hyped up. That was good hype. So what is our weekly challenge this week?
All right. So we are starting our weekly challenges very, very basic for you. And we just want to get a feel out there for who's listening, who's ready to go and tackle some of these. So the challenge is easy this week. Go play 3 rank matches on the rank ladder or spectate 3 matches. And just let us know how you did and let us know what you saw. And once you complete this challenge, you can contact us back. As always, at the end of the show, Andrew lists what our Gmail is. I'm on Twitter at PresbyKennedy. We always make a Reddit post for the show, which you can go and post on there. Or you can just leave a YouTube comment if you watch on YouTube. Let us know how you did, if you won, or if the person you're watching won. Let us know if you saw any cool strategies and what you think of the experience on the ladder. So that is your weekly challenge. Play 3 ranked matches or spectate 3 ranked matches and tell us about it.
And I'll just say right now, I'll remind everyone in the middle of the show here, it's temtalkshow@gmail.com. Send us your feedback on this or any listener questions that you want us to read on the air and answer at temtalkshow@gmail.com. And in the future, we're going to have some fun with this and get creative. And I think it'd be fun to maybe do something more specific, like next week, say,
Oh, I
play.
already have
Yeah,
next week's in mind. I have
yeah,
like a really wild strategy that I want to introduce to the player base,
perfect.
and and
I
see if
love it.
anybody can pull off a win with it.
Yeah, like an example, saying like we might say like, okay, have your ranked queue team have every temp has to share a same type, or something like that. So we'll come up with
Yes.
more fun stuff to do. So stay tuned for that. All right, so our main topic this week, we're going to be all talking about the ranked ladder and our experience playing around with the ranked queue and ranked matches and PvP. And I want to take a moment here at the very top of this to talk about how excited I am about Temtem again and how good it is to be this excited. I mean, I'll be honest, like it's been a little bit of a drag the last couple of weeks. I hope it hasn't came through in the show, but when you do a show like this about the same game week after week, you have to stay really invested. And just like any normal player, even us, our interest kind of ebbs and flows. And I'm a gamer. I play other games and I want to play other games other than Temtem. And the last couple of weeks, I haven't done a lot of free Temtems. I haven't done a lot of Luma hunting. And it was a little bit of a challenge to be like super excited and be really excited to go record the show. And I'm so excited to say that that's not the case, that the ebb and flow of my excitement levels has peaked back up. And I had so much fun doing competitive games. I really spent a lot of time TV training before this, and like I kind of saw TV training as a chore that was going to reward me with the opportunity to do something fun later. But I was having a tough time finding the motivation to go do all the TV training, which isn't even really that grinding. But I was still like, I'd rather just go play a game right now. It's going to be immediately fun than do something that's not fun to have fun later. But boy, can I say, I had so much fun doing ranked matches. We played in the morning together for about an hour at least, and then took a
Yeah, I
break.
think
But
it actually turned into like an hour and a half.
oh yeah, and it was at least an hour and a half, and I was going to before then. But after that break, I went back and I played at least 10 or 15 more matches throughout the day, and I played
Yeah,
so
I
much
casted
Temtem.
a tournament yesterday, and like the tournament ran long, and I had added you as a friend. And when I was like going to spectate the final, like last match of the tournament, I'm like, oh god, I'm so happy this is almost over because I got like all these other things I got to run and do. And I accidentally clicked your name, and it gave me the option to spectate you. I was like, is Andrew still playing rank? I was like 4 hours ago.
Yeah, I played more Temtem yesterday than I'd probably have played in the last 2 weeks, which is it's a good and a bad thing. It shows you how I was feeling before then. Like it was a little bit of a drag for me, but how excited and how much fun I had playing ranked ladder. So I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's something. It's a carrot on a stick I've been chasing since I started breeding. I was like, I wanna think about what Temtems I want. I want to get some perfect SVs for them. Well, it doesn't matter for this. And I got to TV train them and get egg moves. And I've been preparing for this moment for so long. And so to finally be able to capitalize on it and have some fun and get some return on investment has been great. And I got to say, I love that I get Pansons for doing it, because not only do I as a player get that immediate fun tick of playing a game, but it also satisfies that urge of progression to be building up my wealth and my currency and be making money. And I don't feel bad that I'm not doing free temp society, that I'm doing this to make money instead, which is way more fun than just catching and releasing Temtem, but I can still make money and have money coming into my character, which, by the way, I think, so I probably did 20 to 25 matches in total yesterday, probably 20-ish. And I think I made like over 30,000 Pansons, which is, it's not an incredible amount of money, but it's good amount of money. It's not severely worse than catching in the C note per hour.
But
And
it's
the
more
thing is I
fun.
had a lot of fun doing it, and now I have enough money that I can buy another perfect SV Temtem with the good trait. 30,000 will get you most Temtems. So I had all this fun, and I was able to make enough money that I can buy another Temtem if I want to. So just at a very high level as an intro, I was very excited, really enjoyed it. You have not finished your placement matches yet, sir. You have to
I
do that so we can
have
get your TMR rating.
I have not. One thing I acknowledge about TimTim is that it's in early access, so I just really take my time with the content.
Yeah, there's nothing
So
wrong with that. I don't think at all.
yeah, I think I'm probably the most foot draggy player in TimTim, where it's like I don't mind Luma hunting for a week, and then it's like, okay, I'll finish this next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am. I have a
Solid
team.
study is the way to not get burned out through this, because we have a year and a half to wait for all this content. So I don't think there's anything wrong with your approach. I think you're very smart, actually.
Yeah, I have a team. Oh my gosh, I'm so okay. Anyways, I just thought of something
Oh
to
boy.
adjust on my team that's going to make me better in the future.
Well, we'll have to talk about that in the segment here at some
Yeah,
point.
I have a team, and I've been playing on ladder, and every match has been no match for me has been just like, oh yeah, this is a cakewalk. Like,
That's because you haven't
when
done enough. I had a few of those. You just need to do some more.
yeah, for Andrew and I, what we decided to do was we were going to sit and call together for an hour and just play with the other one there, so we can kind of comment on our experiences as we were doing it. And Andrew just watched me like make some crazy wild moves where I didn't know why I did it. I didn't want to be doing it, but it was the biggest gamble. I was like, if I do this, I 100% win this game. And the moments where that paid off, it felt amazing. That's like the type of thing I love about like this game in general. Um, so yeah, my team relies pretty heavily on my Kinu and my Kazuma. I run both of them as like the main supports of my team. A lot of people see that like they see Kinu and they're like, "Oh, you're only running one support, ban Kinu." And then once the Kazuma gets through, that electric is like a
your
beast
secret
nasty.
support, because Kazuma runs turbo, right? Is it or
Yeah, I've got my Kazuma with Sparks, turbo
Yeah.
choreography, and there's gosh, what's the other? Oh, Electric Storm. And then I was running Turbocharge, but I actually didn't have anything that like made enough value of Turbocharge, so I changed it out for just DC Beam. But like I also run a mix, and my Kazuma is like incredibly defensive. And so with those things compounding, my Kazuma is able to stay on the field for like multiple turns. It gets a couple sparks off on Mix, increases its special attack, and then Mix with Sweatband and Puppet Master just kind of sweeps the rest of the game away.
That defensive Mix is it's impressive. I every time I respect Mix a lot when I'm playing against it, because
my Mix is not defensive at all. It is
it's
all special attack.
Mix is like, I see him like, I gotta one shot this thing, or I have to keep it above 50 health so I can one shot it later, and it's such a struggle. Or I have to use an AoE move. So I plan so carefully around that Mix Puppeteer trait. For just a quick reminder for anyone is, once Mix goes to 40% health, you can't target Mix anymore with any single target moves. You can only target the other partner Tem. So the idea is that Mix goes down to 40% health and then can just sit there behind some tanky, bulky Tem with type advantage, or a support Tem or something, and just sweep. And it's a scary place to be in once you set that up.
Yeah. And Kazuma's like very, very good at holding Mix's hand and getting it set up with turbo choreographies and sparks to get it moving faster and hitting harder. One of the problems with Mix is it doesn't have any way to boost its special attack, and it can't really sweep everything. It just deals a bunch of damage, and it's annoying to deal with. But when you can give it that special attack boost, then it's like a real threat, especially if you're running another tank on your team. And then that's where I dupe people, because I'm not running another tank on my team. I'm running an aerobic Volarin. So when they kill the Mix dealing damage, the Volarin comes in and deals more damage.
I gotta imagine your Volarin and Kinu probably suck up a lot of bans.
Yeah, well, Volarin, I'm running a Kinu, Volarin, and a Gaialis. I'm not running any of them in the way where you'd expect those Tims to be ran, except I guess my Kinu's like the closest to a normal Kinu. And yeah, it's just very, very fun. I love my team. It's so off-centered, and I have to think about every single play I make. But for the most part, right now, out of my matches, I'm 3 wins and 2 losses, and about to probably play the rest this week.
But That's the perfect segue for me. So, as excited as I am clearly about this and energetic, I by all means do not claim to be good at competitive PV ranked queues yet. I'd say I'm very mediocre on the low end when it comes to it and TNR. Let's just say that when I finished my rank matches and I got my TMR rating, Kennedy goes to me, "Huh, I didn't know your TMR could go that low. I thought it capped at 920."
I wasn't trying to insult
And I was like,
you.
wow, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, I know it can go this low. This is a TMR. It does go into the 800s. Yeah, your TMR can go below 920, Kennedy. Thanks. Thanks for
We
that.
were just doing experiments, guys.
Thanks
We
for
weren't.
taking away my ego boost. No, I feel fine about that because I think I ended up going 6-4 in my placement matches, so I didn't feel like I was doing particularly bad. I mean, I won more than I lost, and one of those losses was before I had my temp team set up, and I just hit the rank button just to like see what would happen and check out the future. So really, like I went 6-3. So I'm happy with where I started at. I started at below 900. I was able to claw my way up to 1,000 at a high point later in the day for my TMR. And I know those are very rookie numbers. I know that people that are very serious about the competitive can get up to like 1,500. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of learning to do. It's very challenging to think of everything that's going on. And it's funny because I got to. It's so strenuous on your mind to play a Temtem match. You cannot do it casually, or with only half your attention. I found out like you have to sit there and really be thinking about their entire team and every decision and play, and you can't just autopilot mode it. Because it got to a point later in the night last night. I don't know, it was like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I started playing more matches, but I was tired and I was multitasking. I was watching stuff on YouTube. I was playing a game on my phone, and I was talking to people in Discord. And my rating that I got above 1,000, I tanked back down to like the low 900. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to do a ranked competitive match, I have to do nothing else except focus on this match and all of my decisions and put all my effort into it. And it's tense. Like every couple of matches, I had to take a break and like kind of get up and breathe a little bit and just and not get too stressed out or too mentally strained, you know?
Yeah, the thing I really really appreciate about the matches is there are very few moments that can completely decide a match. I think there's times when you can get in the lead and you can progress your lead, but there have been
I disagree.
there were games you watched where I played where it was just like I had this and I lost.
I would say there's many moments in my matches where I made a mistake and lost the match in that one moment. But no, you are right. Generally, if you're not completely terrible, you can come back or lose a victory that you have that you're ahead in.
For me, I will agree with that. That's probably one of my favorite things too about the rank mode and just like how much care they put into like the thought and flow of this game. One thing that I think Temtem like gets critiqued on that isn't necessarily fair is a lot of people say that they're not going to do rank until more Tims are added to the game and the meta's more fun. But there are like 77 or 75 Tims inside the game right now, and there are a few staples you see on most teams like Voloran, Kinu, and Gaialis. But other than that, like teams vary so widely, and out of all of the Tims in the game, so many of them have uses where I watched you play against a full tank composition where you're just like, what the heck is this guy doing? And you kicked his butt. And then game 2, you queued against him again. He learned and adjusted his team with all of his tanks, and he did fairly well.
Yeah. No, I think it's a mixed bag, the meta state. I think I agree with you. I'm very happy with the meta. I got no problem with the variety and the Tims there. I don't think people aren't wrong. The meta is very I'm not gonna use the word stale. It's not stale at all, but it's very meta defined. There's like you said, you see Volorend and Kinu and Gyalis on pretty much every team. And I think what people said on Reddit, and again, I don't know if it's a vocal minority thing, but people said that when you get to the really high TMR ratings, the teams get really, really homogenized and very similar looking, which is probably true. But I have to imagine there's still some variety. But at my TMR rating, there was still plenty of different Tems on each team. And even when there wasn't, I still had a lot of fun trying to learn and figure out and learning the trends. Okay, when I see this Tim, this is how I deal with it. Like there was plenty of content for me there. Just seeing, someone's bringing a Vol Run again. I still haven't figured out how I'm dealing with Vol Run. So I had no problem seeing Vol Runs every match, either to ban them or let it not get banned, and see if someone could play it. With that said, we should highlight. I do talking about the picks and bans stage.
Well, before we get into that, yeah. I still want to. There's a few more things.
Oh, we're jumping all around. Don't worry. You can keep talking about your experience. That's just my train of thoughts. I'm going all over the place today.
So, moving into that, I saw you actually got placed, and I haven't gotten there yet. But looking at the UI,
finish your placement matches so I can get back to you for making fun of my TMR.
Yeah,
God, fair. I hope you're below 900. I can't wait.
I told you, man. I won 3 games and I've lost 2. I'm going 3-7. That's where this is. I had the most horrific luck because we talked about this briefly a couple episodes ago when Rank first came out. But the day Rank came out, I had my team ready and I queued for a game. And the first person I got matched with is one of the people who does like the analytical analysis for the tournaments that I cast. And he is a very smart and tactical player. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, this is my first match. And
What's the odds?
Yeah, I barely clutched out a win over him. Like, barely clutched out a win. And I was kind of scared off from Rank a little bit. I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna let everybody else play and hopefully play against players that I don't know. But yeah, I'm completely expecting to get screwed over by my poor luck in the queue system. But before we talk about that further, I really, really love the UI, and I think this is the best implementation of a rank system inside of a game as far as the approach of it, where your only competition is yourself. It doesn't compare how many games you've played and how many losses you have. It just says, hey, you have this many wins. Here's your TMR. Do you want to queue for another game? Which I like that because it makes me want to play and see how high I can get my TMR, rather than on a ladder where it's just like, all right, here's 1,000 other people and you are, 1,892 on the ladder. And it's just like, oh God. And then the thing that I really hate even more about rank systems, when it's just like, this guy has, 70 wins and 84 losses, and not 84, but maybe 40 something losses, and he's got a win-lose rate of, he wins 58 or 60% of his games. And I don't like that, because then it makes me not want to play, because it's like, oh, I've got a really good win-loss ratio and I don't want to compromise that.
Yeah, you're right.
And other people can see it, and I want them to see my profile and see a good win-loss ratio. Whereas opposed to here, it's just like, here are your wins and here's your TMR. And it's just all I want to do is get in and do better than I did before. And I really like that.
Your season high TMR, because it means that you're not afraid to keep going and maybe decrease your TMR, because you'll still have that benchmark as high as you could get it, where you're not afraid of like, oh, I got 1,200 or 1,300. I don't want to do any more because I might lower it, and it's cool to have it be high. It's like, no, you'll still have your season high TMR there, even if you can't get it any higher. So keep playing. I have mixed feelings on the no losses being shown. I'd be a little curious to know what my win rate is. I think I'm above 50%, but I'm not sure, and I'd like to know for sure if I am. But I feel like I am. But I know that my TMR is low simply from the fact that if I lose a couple matches and drop to the low end of it, I play against players who bless them. I can tell don't know exactly what they're doing or aren't like tuned into the competitive scene, because they just make some really weird and strange decisions, and I can beat them very easily. And I enjoy those matches because it's satisfying to know that I'm a little more advanced than some other players. But I'm like, man, this must be how most of these other players feel when they're facing me and I just make weird, bad decisions.
I have a really bad habit of backseat driving my girlfriend whenever she plays video games, and so I've had to really tone that down just to be able to game with other people. And when we were in call yesterday, I kept seeing you make plays where I was like, Andrew, It's your game.
No,
It's
and every time I was like, no,
ahead.
I need help. I'm trying to learn. I haven't done much competitive scene. Like, please give me tips or like point out what I'm doing wrong. I need to learn. So I was like, every time I was like, please give me this advice. Yeah, there was one time where I don't have a mushuk. I've never evolved a mushy, so I don't have a mushuk in my Tem decks. So I don't get the red-green highlights, and I'm not good enough to remember the type charts completely. So I threw some move that did half damage at it. And you were like, did you mean to do that? I'm like, I just wasn't thinking about it. And it didn't give me a red circle to tell me to stop and think that I should pick a different move. So that's the level of play I'm at, where I click a move and I see if the Tems are green or red as a circle. I go, okay, this is a good one. I'm not actually that bad. I know the type chart's a little bit better than that, but I still sometimes make mistakes like I did there with that one. And that's a very just small example. So I'm okay with it. I got lots of learning and opportunity and time ahead of me to refine and get better at this and learn more about it. And I'm really
it's a great system. So you wanted to move into picks and bans?
Well, no, I guess I'll quickly go over my team for the listeners. And maybe changes after one day of using them I'm already thinking of making. So like I said, Calibus is on it purely for I like Calibus. The rest of the picks I picked, I'm a dirty net lister. I picked all high tier meta Tems because I need every advantage I can help. Yeah. So I have a Volcrane, a Gaialis, a Pig Epic, an Anahir, a Volorend, a Kinu, and a Zenarath. And Zenarath was the other one that I picked because I just thought was a really cool Tem. And I definitely see why no one else. I haven't seen a single other Zenarath on queue. And I kind of feel like the Zenarath is disappointing me, which makes me so sad because Zenarath is like my favorite, quote unquote, like competitive sweeper Tem I have. I just like how big he is, how cool he is. I like the whole idea of madness buffing and then attacking, but he's just not nearly as good as Gallus, and I see everyone else running Velashes, so maybe I'll have to switch out the Zenarath for a Velash. But just in general, so I have the Pig Epic and the Kinu for support, throwing out bamboozles and turbo choreographies, and the Kinu's, protector, so he's raising stats and throwing out revitalizes and sacrifices. I will say that I underestimated going into this how useful it is to have Pig Epic have like a tornado or an Oshi Dashi or a wind or a heavy blow, and have Kinu have what is it? The beta burst, the psychic damage. Having that surprise damage that you can throw out of those support Tems to finish off a weak Tem was really useful. But then for sweepers, I have my Volorend, my Gallus, my Zenarath, and my Anahir, kind of. So I might be a little over invested in crystal sweepers. We kind of talked about how my strategy is very simple. I have a bunch of heavy hitting punching Tems, and my plan is to just attack. And if I see an opportunity where I'm not threatened and they due to switch outs, I can like pause a little bit. I'll do something to increase stats, either switch out in a Kinu, do a madness buff, do a heat up, and I'll try to make it so I can punch harder. But that's about as complicated as I get right now. It's just punch them a lot and try to punch them harder if I can. So I'm a simple man with simple tastes.
Yeah. For me, I mentioned my team comp a little bit earlier, and just running over it in depth. I was running an Anahir. I had a Mushuk, a Gazuma, a Gaialis, a Volorend, a Mix, and there are two Temtem that. Oh, I had an Akama. God, Akama's so good.
I'm thinking of adding Akama.
Yeah, and there's one Temtem that I am missing. Did I say Kinu? I feel like I said Kinu already.
I don't know.
If I didn't say Kinu, it's Kinu.
Okay.
And we'll just let that be. But yeah, so my strategy pretty much includes I look for the opening play most of the time, either starting with my Kinu or Gazuma. Gazuma has been like drawing first span a lot for me,
I would ban Gazuma if I saw one.
Yeah, if they ban out my Gazuma, then that means I get a free Gaialis and a free Kinu for my start, and sometimes I'll go Gaialis Ukama, depending on like what's on the enemy team. and I most of the time try and pick up 2 toxic Tims of choosing both my Volarant and my Mushuk, and then my last thing is kind of like my flexible pick of if I need a fire Tim, I'll bring the Anna here, and God, it's really weighing on me that I can't remember what the other Tim is that I have on my
Shame
team.
on
That
you.
just
How dare
Yeah,
you
that
make
just
fun of
goes
my
to
team,
show.
Ar? At least I know what all the Tems are on my team.
Yeah, you know what? I will smoke bomb in game right now because I've got it open, and later on, I will tell everybody what that Tim is. But yeah, and for me, I look at my opening turn for how much I can get ahead of the enemy team. So a lot of times I try and start with a Gaialis Kinu or a Gaialis Ukama, and what that leads gives me the ability to do
You're such an
is
innovator, starting with Gaialis. Wow, look at you. You're so unique.
yeah, I know, right?
Don't worry.
Actually, I'm
I quickly
looking in
learned that
my
was also the best way for me to start, was just have Gaialis on field heating up turn 1.
Okay, so I got my box open now, and it actually seems that my competitive team was removed from my competitive box, so that's cool. I'll put those back in later.
Oh,
Uh, yeah,
better double check
but
that.
what I am running, I can just look in my box. I have a Gaialis, a Kinu, an Ukama, a Mix, a Gazuma, a Volorend, an Anahir, and a Mushuk. And that's
Mushuk.
all
I
8
think
of my
was Mushuk the
symptoms.
one you were forgetting?
No, I said Mushuk
Okay.
before. I think
Right.
I forgot to mention my Mix just because I always assume it's always there.
Mushuk is as we talked about is a hard temp for my team to deal with because Volren's usually banned.
Yeah, Mushuk's kind of like the enabler of my team, and pretty much when it gets banned out, I have such a harder time in the rest of the game because I'm not running a traditional Gaialis. My Gaialis actually has show off instead of heat up,
Oh
so it
wow.
doesn't get as much attack as quickly. But the thing that I do with my Gaialis is a lot of the times when I start my Gaialis Kinu, I will swap out the Kinu and swap in the Mushuk. Show off synergizes with the fighting type, and it gives the Gaialis Vigorize, which lets it have reduced stamina usage for its moves, and Gaialis has horrific stamina.
I remember watching you. I was like, "Do you have Energize out on one of your Tems? I've never seen anyone have that symbol up on a Tem." I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, and then my Gaialis is incredibly beefy, and so I keep swapping in and out my supports to hold the hand of my Gaialis as it uses its Vigorize for those couple turns and throws out moves and damage. And Gaialis is a raid boss. You have to stop Gaialis before it gets online. And so as people are throwing moves into the Gaialis, the Kinu's coming back in and healing it. The Mix is coming in and throwing out damage behind the Gaialis. Then when the Vigorize wears off, the Mushuk comes back in, and we'll have turbo choreography online for the Gaialis. The Gaialis gets another show off, and by this time, ideally things are rolling in a good direction for me. When I can't do that, I normally start with my Ukama out on the field, and I go for poison control between Ukama, Mushuk, and Volorend, and I just try and keep poison stats on everything. And then in the in-between, in case all of this fails, I have an incredibly tanky Anna here and an incredibly tanky Gazuma. And my Gaialis is also a pretty big beefy boy or beefy gal. And the Mix, I will run Mix in one of these Tims and have my Mix with Puppet Master sit behind and keep throwing out attacks. And most of the time, this works out in my favor. When I was playing on
you
the
thought
other,
this plan through a lot more than me. I like that.
yeah. The only thing there are some things about my team that I would change. Obviously, getting the good traits and everything on my Tims.
That's right. Your Anna here has trauma,
yeah, it
right?
has trauma
Instead of flawed crystal.
Yeah, I don't ever have any game where I depend on my Anna here. Normally, I expect my Anna here to do 2 things: switch to the field, take a move, heat up, take a move, and then meteor swarm, and you have to kill Anti-Hero before it gets a heat up meteor swarm off. Otherwise, it's like so terrifying. And if you
Andir's pretty tanky. I was impressed with how Andir can take a hit, especially if you throw like a Kinu on it to increase its defense and special defense a stage.
Yeah, and so like if you put 3 attacks into my Anti-Hero, and I have a Mix on my team, or I have a Gaialis on my team, or an aerobic Volarin, chances are, by the time you kill the Anti-Hero, they've killed whatever I needed them to kill, and the Anti-Hero can be thrown away at that point.
It was interesting, my evolution of a player and understanding these systems and roles better after just getting my hands around it and getting that experience and those examples. Because, we talked about sweepers on our past episode, understand the roles of sweepers. But when I started playing my matches early on, like it was hard for me to not always just want to attack with a Gauss. It's like I could, or Zenarath, even like I'm like I could madness buff here, but I just want to crystal spikes and get rid of this Temtem and start doing damage. Like the quicker I do damage, the quicker I'll kill their Temtem, the quicker I'll win. And of course, not buffed up sweepers aren't that effective. And I finally slowly got those matches where I'd have a Gauss with a heat up or two and a Zenarath with a madness buff. And I'd gotten to those positions to a point where I could just start one-shotting their Tems as I hit the field. And I was like, oh, this is why they call them sweepers. Like, just it kind of clicked in my head for the first time. Like, I always understood that intrinsically. I always understood that that's what you're supposed to do, of course. But to actually execute on it and see it in action and do it myself really made it like the light bulb go off. And so I'm excited to keep playing around with it.
Okay, so the other thing I put in the show notes to talk about is picks and bans.
Yes.
Because I think that's a whole half of a match that people don't appreciate.
I really think, I know this is an oversimplification and exaggeration, but I swear, at least at my level, the matches can be won and lost in the pick and ban screen. Like, it is such a huge impact on the match.
Yeah. So what did you think about going into picks and bans as a player that, I guess was like a little bit newer to the system?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the other things, the evolutions. With my early matches, I kind of was like, okay, I know that Gaialis is scary, so I'm just going to sit here and ban Gaialis, or I know Volarin's scary. So I just kind of did it more random, willy-nilly. But later on, it was more fun to kind of understand, to look at their whole team of 8 as a package, and my team of 8, and starting to look at, okay, if I ban this Tem, it takes, like, if I ban their fire Tem, I can then pick all my crystal Tems really easily. Or, oh no, they've banned this one Tem, so I'm gonna have trouble doing with this Tem on their team. Like if they ban my Volaran, I'm like, I can't let them get something that only is weak to win, so I got to go ban that. So it made it very interesting about how much you have to just sit and think about those bans and not do them quickly. Like there's so much that's going to impact the match and that you can set up in the match on that screen. And it's very hard. It's very hard and intimidating as a new player to think about all those possible outcomes and all those type matchups and everything that can happen in the meta and figure out what you're supposed to do. It's a little intimidating, but I'm still having fun with it and learning as I go.
For me, I would say that in going through this process with you, I've learned a new appreciation for the pick and ban phase, that I assembled my team very consciously of like how each of the elements like interplay with each other. And you can't ban 2 parts of my team and it not work. So, whatever I get left with on the field is just like, my Gaialis can sweep, I just need a way to set it up. My Mix can sweep, I need a way to set it up. And my Volarin can sweep, and I just need a way to set it up. And so with those 3, if 2 of them get banned, it's like, okay, I'm going for a Volarin strategy this time.
Simply like you have 2 supports. One of them gets banned, you still have another one.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really pay much attention to what I want from the game when I'm banning. I really prefer to be like the responder, I guess, in the pick and ban phase, where I like when I can really respond to like my opponent's strategy. And it's like, okay, I see they're going for this. How can I screw them over?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for things to ban. And it's just like, oh, if I'm going for a Volarin strategy and they ban this, then in what way can I ban to screw them over that Volarin's a really terrible, choice for them.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes I can put the pressure on a pick to make them like, oh God, okay, my second ban, I have to ban this out of me not picking Volarin, and then being able to completely flip a strategy. It's like, haha, you weren't prepared to deal with this as the main threat for now.
Yeah,
and
see,
I think that's my favorite thing to do the pick and ban phases, rather than try and put together a strategy on my side, is to cancel my opponent's strategy.
No, that's smart. I need to get to that point because I'm not quite there. I'm just looking at scary temps and type matchups of what I've picked, but I'm getting there, and I need to get to that point. So I think that's the right way to do it. So
there's a player that I've been casting matches of that's been competing in the Tim tournaments for the past few weeks called Klozix. And one thing that I've noticed about their strategy is they never ban Gaialis. I don't think I've seen them play one game where they've decided to ban a Gaialis.
Yeah.
And they always bring some interesting strategy to work around the Gaialis that I think that's just so much fun. And when you can evolve your team to a point where something's going to be there and getting an answer to it, I think you get into a very good position.
No, I think that's huge to just be like, I know people are going to bring Gaialis. I'm not going to bother banning it. I always have an answer ready for it. I think that's what makes you have to get to that point with all of the meta tems. You have to know what you're going to do about Gaialis, what you're going to do about Volrend.
For me, I think mine is Volarin. That I never really ban Volarins, because rather it's
Gazuma.
if it's an aerobic Volarin or it's a anaerobic Volarin, my Gazuma can usually out tank an anaerobic Volarin, and then so I don't ever worry about that. Then if it's an aerobic Volarin, I pretty much pick my aerobic Volarin and double up into it. And it might kill my Volarin, but I'll definitely kill it, and it still doesn't end up being a problem. And then same thing if my Kazuma gets banned, I'm running Perfect Jab on my Mushroom. So anaerobic Volarin, you lower its defenses once, and then literally anything with a physical attack just takes it out.
Yeah. Well, that's smart. So on the pick spec for my team itself is I have enough redundancy that I don't feel super, and I'm not doing such a hyper-focused predefined strategy that I don't feel super restrained with the bans. Because like I said, I have 3 crystal type of sweeper Tems, so there's no way they're going to ban all of them. So I have 2 supports, so I'm always going to get one of those in. But I think at the same time, it's part of my team that I need to switch out. I think that the Anahir and the Zenarath, in addition to the Gaialis, are a little redundant, and one of those will probably go. The exciting thing about the ranked matches being out is for the first time in a couple of weeks, I'm excited to start breeding again. I really enjoyed breeding previous to rank coming out. That was the main thing I did in the game. I didn't really like doing free temtems that much or Luma hunting. I spent a lot of time breeding and making money off breeding, but I kind of got a little burnt out of that. But now I'm like, oh man, I got to breed up a new Ukama. So today, that's what I'm going to be working on. Is I have all the Ukamas already from C Note, so I'm excited to be breeding again. But anyways, my point being is, I think Zenarath and or Anahir, one of those is going to get switched out for possibly an Ukama or maybe something some nature electric. I'm not really sure. Feel free to let me know. Send me an email at temtalkshow@gmail.com or a comment if you got any tips. Otherwise,
for Zenarath.
Yeah. Otherwise, I was going to say that's the benefit of joining a club like we said. Is that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to take to our Discord and say, here's my team. What do you guys think I should switch out? And I'm sure I'm going to get some great advice there. So I'm sorry. What did you say? Switch out Zenarath for what?
No, I said press. You said email TemTalk with the opinion. I said press F for Zenarath.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't get Zenarath to work, and I want to make Zenarath work still because I like him so much. So the answer is that Anahir is probably going to be the one that gets. I think I'm going to, unless I get some specific feedback or do more research, I'm going to switch out the Anahir for Ukama. I'm going to keep Zenarath on. I got to learn how to madness buff. Actually, right now, can you maybe give me a little bit of tip here? Because here's what happens with my Zenarath. I throw him out there, and I don't have time to madness buff. And so I attack, and and sometimes he does a lot of damage.
Are you running Channeler?
Yeah, he's Channeler. So sometimes he doesn't need the madness buff. And I can't figure out when to madness buff, when not to. And sometimes I get in a really defensive good position, and I get cocky and I madness buff twice, and I'm like, I'm gonna annihilate people. But then of course it never works out, and I always die because I madness buff twice instead of attacking. So I haven't figured out that whole meta of when to madness buff versus when to just crystal spikes or use footwork.
Yeah, so just in general, I think whenever you're playing, when you're thinking on the turn you're on, you're going to be in a bad situation.
Yeah.
You always want to be like thinking at least one turn ahead, and that's going to help like all of your madness buffs and your crystal spikes. So with Xenarath, in general, the reason why I believe most people throw him out there is for the sake of applying so much pressure that people can't set up things like Valash, people can't set up Gaialis. Unfortunately, Gaialis Kinu is such a powerful start that it is going to put a Gaialis online instantaneously, and you're just not going to be able to throw out enough damage to stop it. So I would say Xenarath is best paired with another quick start, high damaging attacker. You don't want anyone who has a hold move who needs a turn to like turn online.
So you're saying don't throw them out with the Kinu pick epic, throw them out with the Voloran maybe, or someone.
I would think like an aerobic Voloran. The thing that comes to mind is like a Two-Vine with Crystal Plume Gatling.
Oh yeah, I really respected Two-Vine's play. I was thinking about maybe a Two-Vine instead of Anahir as well as an option.
Yeah, because you want something that can come out with him and help aid in that task of throwing out damage. And then you have to ask, why are you throwing out damage? And most of the time it's to prevent people from setting up, which I don't believe there's any Tem in the game that's just going to get a turn one kill unless it's like a really, really bad type matchup and the other person like doesn't respect it. So
before I forget, you reminded me of one thing about just setting up and preventing people from setting up. And my general lack of awareness of what's going on is someone used I only saw the evolved form of Smashy once. What's his name? I can't think of it.
Bongabong?
Yes. And I was like, what is that Temtem? I don't even, it's the Smashy evolved form. And I just didn't know what was going on, and I don't ever see people play him, so I kind of ignored him. And he increased its stats a bunch, and that thing was unstoppable. It just started murdering my entire team one by one.
Yeah, Hype Monkey, once it's got Brawny, once Hype Monkey gets going, Hype Monkey doesn't stop.
I learned, I was like, okay, I can't just let people set up sweepers, even if it's a sweeper I'm not familiar with. Like, I gotta respect that. So I was like, I think I actually re-queued against that person, and I immediately just banned that. I was like, I'm not dealing with that again.
So just like off the top of my head, since Xenarath's such like a powerful special attacker, being able to mix attacks and having a physical attacker join them would be like your best bet. Sure. But like as far as like turn one great physical damage, the only thing that comes to mind is Water Cutting Lily and Drill Impact, which I don't like. Sure. You know, there's Cerny, and then I don't think there's any good users of Drill Impact.
Well, you can. I think on the Gallus quote unquote meta setup, everyone takes Crystal Bite, Hitru Uchi, Heat Up, and then in that last spot, there's some flexibility. And Drill Impact is an ability you can slot in there if you want to. I don't know if it's the best decision, but when I was doing my research online, people were talking about using Drill Impact, Glass Bag, Earth Wave, or Crystal Spikes?
Sharp Stabs,
yeah, which I think is the most I actually switched to Sharp Stabs, but I could switch it back to Glass Bag or Drill Impact. And I mean, not heating up with the Gallus turn one doesn't seem like the right thing to do, but it's an option, right? I could just go 0 to 100 with the Xenarath and Gallus out that are have the Gallus throw out an attack and have the Xenarath Madness buff.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Mushuk's a really good one to join them too with Uppercut. I didn't even think about that till just now.
Sure.
But that's one of the reasons, like, when you're starting this, you want to really be thinking, you don't want to be thinking about turn one. You really want to be thinking about turn two of just like whatever Temtems are on the field. Are you going to be able to kill them on turn two? So if you double into a Gaialis that's going to heat up, it's 9 times out of 10 going to live. But what you want then to be an option is, one, did you outspeed the Gaialis before it attacked? Are you going to outspeed its sharp stabs coming next turn, which the Xenorath's big attack crystal spikes will likely outspeed. So you've pushed a Gaialis off the field and something swapping in. If it's like a Volaran or something else, or like a Valash, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be at a sliver of HP if you're going to outspeed it. If there are no turbo choreographies, are you going to outspeed a Pigapet Bamboozle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is going to be, that's what you want to be thinking about when using Xenorath. And a lot of people are going to be, thinking on the same aspect of just like, all right, how can I protect my Tim so that they can get 4 turns of life instead of 3 turns of, or 4 hits of life instead of 3 hits of life. Generally, anything unbuffed that's beefy and in the meta is going to take about 3 hits to kill. And if you can bamboozle for an additional turn, that's when you get into really terrifying
I knew
territory.
Bamboozle's good, but I learned Bamboozle's real good when I could start just bamboozling my sweeper over and over. You do remind me that the whole thing that turned out, that's definitely what to do, but I almost got caught in a trap where I was thinking too many turns ahead and making decisions on that turn for future turns that I shouldn't have, mainly in regards to switch outs. So I'd be like, okay, I have a plan that these two are going to buff up and they're going to work in conjunction. And my opponent just switched something that's pretty threatening, but I'm like, I'm going to stick to my long-term plan and not switch out. And that was a mistake. And once I learned to be a little more loosey-goosey with switching out, or not loosey-goosey, but just doing it more quickly and not getting so stuck and being able to pivot constantly and keep switching out to counter their threats, I did start to have better success. So I think it's just I got to work the two aspects into each other a little bit better, and I think I'll have some better success. But hey, listen, we're going a little long on time. It's such an exciting topic. There's so much to talk about. So just to start winding down here, in closing, do you have any final thoughts, or I know our last bullet point, just any suggestions or how you hope it develops or what you hope the future looks like?
Yeah, let me give you my 92-point thesis on
no, thank you.
I'm kidding. Let's see. Final thoughts and closing on how this develops. One thing that I think would be really cool, I think it would be really great if somebody wrote like a gear guide on Reddit. I think that's my weakest area of battling, is I kind of, like, I put Sweatband on my mix. I know that's good. And I put Coat on my Mushuk. Other than that, items are pretty much my worst area of competitive battling, of just like everything has an item, but I'm just like, you just need to hold something here.
I'd agree with that. I'm kind of the same. I set all my items and then forget about them and don't think about them during I pick them and forget it and don't think about throughout the match what items are on my Tems or their Tems. But I'm the same way. I'm like, I know my Sweatband's good, so I always am debating, do I put in the Pig Epic or I put in the Xenorath? And I've been swapping it around a little bit, actually. But
yeah, I think it would be really cool with the battle log if for the important items, once they're revealed, if it showed the item the Temtem's holding, like next to it.
That would be so nice. If it's been revealed, at least, right? Through an action.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And I can't wholly say that it doesn't do that, but just in all of my viewing of it, I don't
think it does.
Yeah,
it'd be kind of cool to show, and this is all like more to casual players, so high skill cap players might not like this, but I wouldn't also mind it listing the trait once the trait's been revealed, because I can't remember the traits always. It'd be nice to see once you've seen the trait, it'd be able to check on the battle log, but maybe they won't add that because it allows a little more skill for people that are on top of that and remembering that or taking notes. But I wouldn't mind seeing the traits and the items appear on the battle log. That would be nice.
My other suggestion, and just kind of what I hope to see from the rank ladder, I would love a random 2v2 ladder where you queue in with
that'd be fun.
A teammate you might not know. And it's 2 tamers against 2 tamers, each bringing 3 Tims to the field.
Well, I don't even think I'd be fun if you could queue with a friend. I mean, the whole game's co-op.
That would be fun too.
The whole game's co-op. Why don't they have a co-op PvP ladder? They 100% should add that. That would be so fun.
Yeah,
I would love that.
I think that would be great. I just think that it would kind of be unfair to the people who don't have someone to play with on that ladder.
No, I
think, let's get in Discord, target down that Tim.
No, I think
but if a chat system gets implemented, then
it'd only be people queuing against other people queuing for the same thing.
That's fair. That's
Like,
completely
that's
fair.
how I think it should work, is that you can just queue for duels, and you're only going to other people who have queued for duels.
Yeah,
Well,
and all in all, I'd say this is like such a great first implementation of the rank ladder. They said they, hope to expand on it and improve it and in the future. So, can't wait to see where it goes from here.
yeah, no, I agree 100%. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find more of you online?
Boom! Like I said, I'm on all social media as at PresB uh, and I'm just gonna go with that this week.
All right, sounds good. That's great. So the show's on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, or find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Leave us that 5-star iTunes review. It really helps us get more visibility and traction with the show. Like I said, we're
Can
always looking
I
for.
throw in one more thing?
Yeah.
There is a Fellow Tamers Cup that when this episode comes out, it's going to be for the week of this coming weekend.
It's going to be
So
May 2nd and 3rd.
yeah,
Okay.
there's a Fellow Tamers Little Cup, and the Little Cups give you the qualifying points to get in and win in their cash tournament. If anybody wants to compete in that, definitely hit me up, and I can point you into the right places to find it.
Awesome. And so like I said, leave us a comment on YouTube or Reddit, or send us some feedback on the challenge or question at temtalkshow@gmail.com. That's going to do it for us this week. Until next time, everyone, thank you.